Hello, everybody. This is Hondo Carpenter, your Las Vegas Raiders beat writer on SI and the host of the Las Vegas Raiders Insider Podcast. It's great to be with you today. We are continuing going through a position breakdown of each position group on the Las Vegas Raiders as we get ready to project our 53-man roster. Yesterday, we started with the wide receivers, and I need to go back because there was one person that was in my notes that I inexplicably went over and just didn't mention. In fact, after the podcast, I thought, wait a minute, I don't remember mentioning him, and I knew he was in my notes, and I didn't. I don't know how I missed it, but I did. And out of respect for him, I think we need to mention him. His name is Colin Johnson. He's from Texas, UT, 5-year NFL guy, and he's 6'6". He's a person that they are intrigued with his size, and he's a guy that hasn't made a lot of splash in the NFL, even though he's been in there. And he's a guy that, but he certainly has potential to be something. He's going to have to make a huge impact on special teams to make this roster. If I had to predict today, I do think he's on the outside looking in at a 53-man spot, but I was not overlooking him because I thought he was insignificant. I just made a mistake. He was in my notes. So I apologize to Colin about that. Um, Nobody said anything to me about it. I just noticed it afterwards and it made me feel terrible. But this is a guy that there's some intriguing things in his game. And when you start getting to the bottom of your depth chart at any position, you special teams is going to be a huge contributor. And at that size, there are some unique things that he can possibly contribute. So that's another guy you want to keep your name up, that your eye on. Today we're going to look at running backs. Last year, the Raiders carried 4 on their initial 53-man roster. I think that's a pretty safe number. It could fluctuate to 5 potentially. Um, but but for the sake of this podcast and when I do my 53-man projection, we're going to keep it at 4. Um, we're going to look at them today because the Raiders have some interesting guys on the roster. They got 6 running backs on that roster, and obviously, again, if we go with 4 and then 2 make the practice squad, but they're an interesting group for a multiplicity of different kinds of reasons. So let's start with the elephant in the room when you talk running back. He's the Raiders' first round draft pick, fills a huge hole. He is an instant impact player. He's a player that I had shared with you before the draft. Many NFL people said to me the best running back to come out in the draft since Saquon Barkley. No one thought he was rated as high as Saquon, but the best since Saquon, and that's Ashton Genty. This is a guy that can do so much. If you were looking for a equivalent of who his game kind of mirrors, it would be Emmett Smith. Just size wise, he emulates him. Style wise, he emulates him. He's just like uh, he just bounces. Now, I said this before the NFL draft. To me, there is nobody you compare to Barry Sanders. Okay, he retired, or he would have been, I think, set a record so high nobody would have broken it. Um, but he has elements to his game that remind me of Barry. I'm not in any way saying he is Barry, but that ability to bounce, that ability to change direction, and that vision remind me of Barry. And so this guy comes in, and this is going to be a potential generational running back. He is a man that every single person you talk to talks about his commitment to football. Um, Other people have lots of other interests, and I was told his interest is football. That's just the way he operates. He is all football all the time. And he's a guy that's going to come in. He's going to uh, demonstrate a work ethic that a Max Crosby demonstrates. And He is a guy who is going to, I believe, fundamentally change the Raiders' rushing attack for several reasons. First of all, and we've already aforementioned this in previous podcasts, but the Raiders are not only talking that they want to be a running team like last year, but unlike last year, they're actually going to demonstrate that they're a running team. They're going to put that commitment to establishing, pushing the rock down the field in the hands of a running back. Ginty is a guy that can play every down. And that is a big deal. His ability to pass block, but also his ability to catch the ball out of the backfield. That's underrated part of his game, his ability to catch the football. And there are several people that had him and Omarion Hampton as the best two backs. About 70% of the teams I talked to had Ashton number one, 30% had Omarion. And the only thing I heard that there was a few things that separated them, some better for one and not for the other, but that they did think that Genty's upside as a pass catcher was better than Omarion Hampton, although neither were bad. So this was a tremendous pick by the Raiders, an impact pick, and clearly he's the number one back, rock solid, making the roster. Then you come in at number two, and the second back is going to be Raheem Mostert, who comes in. This is a guy that did not have a great season due to injury last year, but you don't have to go back too far to see where he was putting up Pro Bowl type numbers. And if he's 100% healthy, this guy to spell Ashton is a very big deal. Now, the other thing that I really love about the Raiders getting Raheem is you get a proven veteran in a very young running back room to be a great demonstration. Now, let me throw this out there. Amir Abdullah obviously had a 1-year deal. He's still on that deal. I mean, had a 1-year deal with the Raiders for the 24 season. And Amir was a great guy when injuries and hit. He stepped in and played super well. You bring in Mostert, and like Amir Abdullah, this is a guy that does everything right like a professional. He trains very hard. He's a guy that's going to be an asset in the locker room because he's going to take those young running backs under his wings. He's going to help them. He's going to develop them. He's a role model. He takes care of his body. He does things the right way. And this is where you get a Raheem who comes in, and for really it wasn't a great expense for the Raiders. If he's 100% healthy, which at this point everyone believes that he is, we'll find out, and he's back to that Pro Bowl form, what an amazing guy to back up and to be a role model for Ginty, but to also spell him. Now, I mentioned earlier, Ginty is a all down back, and which is a very big deal. So it's not like there's going to be a ton of reps, but at the same time, they're going to want to, let guys take a blow and get a relief. And so if Raheem is who they think he is, this was a great addition for the Raiders for multiple reasons. His ability on the field, his ability in the locker room, his ability in the classroom. And the classroom is a very big deal. And then his ability off the field, away from the facility, teaching young guys what it means to be a professional. Then you come in and you're looking at that third spot. And third and four are in a battle. And let's talk about that battle. Let's start with Zamir White. Zeus comes in and was a massively productive running back at Georgia. A huge part of the great success Kirby Smart has had in Georgia. And the Raiders got him and were really thrilled to get him. When he backed up Josh, he looked and performed well. Then after you saw uh, uh, Antonio Pierce take over, you saw Zeus explode. He was the best running back the second half of the 2023 season in the National Football League. And that's just factual. He did it all. Then coming into 24, Lou Getsy comes in. They change the scheme a little bit. They go to a wide zone, and they tried to make Zamir into something that he wasn't. And I don't think there's any other way to classify Zamir White's 2024 season other than a great disappointment. And it's not just a disappointment, when you look at what his production was, but I think what the Raiders tried to do. This is where we've talked about before when you go into the draft, it's understanding it's not just picking a player. That's not the hardest part here. It's picking a player that fits your scheme, that works and plays with your scheme. If you're looking for a zone corner, well, Patrick Graham likes to play press. So the best zone corner may not be the right choice for the Raiders unless you think he can play press. He's just come from a zone system. Now, some guys are just zone corners. They're great corners in the zone, terrible in press. Some guys are great in press, terrible in zone. Some guys are great in zone, but they've never been asked to play press. So, again, that's where evaluation comes in, understanding a guy's skill set. So, how is he going to fit with Chip Kelly? Now, Chip Kelly, and we have sung his praises since his opening press conference, talked about the best coaches fit their scheme around the talent they have. The entire time I've been covering the Raiders, I've been waiting for somebody to say that. And on the offensive side of the football. And finally, Chip Kelly is. That should be a terrific sign to Zamir White. It should be a terrific sign to every player on the roster, but we're specifically talking about Zeus right now. That is a very big deal because you want to put people in a position. Now, there's not going to be, unless injury occurs, a lot of opportunity for the third and fourth running back to do a lot on this team. Genty's going to carry the rock a lot. Raheem will. Now, one advantage is Raheem is a veteran, and the third and fourth guy in the Raiders is going to be young. So they're going to have to play some special teams, which is fine. And they're going to have to do some other things to distinguish themselves. And so with Zamir, I'm going to absolutely watch how him and Sincere, and I'll get to Sincere in a moment, battle. But it's also going to be what are they doing on special teams? So in training camp, I'll be watching special teams very closely to see how those two gentlemen do. Fourth guy, and again, I'm going to talk 3 and 4 running back. It's an either or. So I don't have Zamir ahead of Sincere ahead of Zamir. I just have him either or. Is Sincere McCormick? This is a guy that his first few years in the league were disappointing. But then last year, he gets his shot and he made a big statement, but then gets injured. He's going to have to convince the Raider coaching staff the best ability is availability, and he's going to have to put up consistency now. He has demonstrated why they kept him around. And then in games, he's put film together where he looked really, really good. Again, I have him and Zamir tied here, but it would not surprise me if Zamir's a little bit of ahead just on the body of work previously. Sincere last year, Zamir the year before. But these two, again, for someone to win this battle for that 3-4 slot, it's going to come down to ancillary things. It's going to come down to special teams, and it's going to come down when opportunity comes, who's going to be the most explosive. Pete Carroll and Chip Kelly want explosive plays. They're looking for guys. There's an old saying when it comes to running back, you want to be slow to the hole and fast through it. Slow to the hole, fast through it. That's a very big deal. And so they're going to be looking for guys that show that explosion. If you're hit behind the line of scrimmage, do you fall forward? So if you're hit 2 yards behind it, do you get back to the line of scrimmage? If you're hit at the line of scrimmage, do you still pick up a yard? I remember one time a uh, coach, an NFL coach, told me when I asked him about evaluating players. He said, I don't look at the big runs because everybody I look at has big runs." He goes, "I want to watch what happens when they're hit. I want to watch if they're hit 2 yards behind the line of scrimmage, do they get back to the line? If they're hit at the line, do they pick up 2 yards? If they're bursting on 1st and 10 and they get to 9 and get smothered, do they end up going back 2 yards or do they get the first down?" Watching that ability, that's the area where in the preseason games, you're going to want to keep a close eye on Zamir and Sincere, both in special teams, but watching what they do. You're watching for explosion and you're watching for what happens after the initial hit. Does it take more than one guy to bring them down? Or if somebody gets a direct shot, are they falling forward? Those are going to be a big deal. Then we're going to get to the guys that if they keep four, are kind of on the outside looking in for the 53 man. Okay. Dylan Labe. Now, very much like him. I've shared the story many times. He's from New Hampshire. He's from New England. My mother loves this kid. Um, Shout out to mom, Mother's Day, by the way. But this is a guy with the addition of Tommy Mellott is going to find himself on the outside looking in. Mellott can do the kick return, the punt return, wide receiver. He could even do a little bit of running back in the right situation. And so I talked yesterday about his ability to get small. So that probably sets up Labe on the not probably, but it does set up Labe on the outside looking in. I mean, clearly Raheem and Genty have made the team. I think that Zamir and Sincere are, while not locks, certainly the favorites. And if I was doing my 53 man projection today, I'd have them on the roster. But Labe's a guy that got an opportunity last year and fumbled. And when you're young, that is brutal. That's brutal. My dad used to say to my brothers and I, remember, mistakes you make when you're young follow you forever. There's a lot more grace when you're older and make a mistake. He goes, not fair, but it's reality. And when you're a young player, you got to earn trust. You have to earn trust. And they were excited about him. And then that fumble, when you're a team scrapping and fighting and looking for a win and things seem to downfall or seem to spiral, it put Labe in a bad spot. Now he worked hard. I can tell you flat out, more than one person commented about his work ethic to fix that. And but he's a guy that if he's going to have a shot to make the 53 man, all of his impact's going to have to be on special teams. They're not giving him the rock 30 times. And even if the top four guys are injured. So he is going to have to come in and just shine. And no fumbles and just shine. And it puts him behind the eight ball. He comes from a smaller school, comes from a less talented competition field. So there's already questions about, all right, comes some, less competition. How's he going to handle? But there you go. Then I want to talk to you about one other kid named Chris Collier out of Lock Haven, small school, obviously. This is a kid that's done some really interesting things, completely developmental. I would be stunned if he made the roster, but I would not be stunned with him on the practice squad with a chance to develop. Remember, I talked to you yesterday and I mentioned when you're looking at practice squad guys, it isn't like these guys are complete packages. They're literally guys that you bring on your practice squad. They run the scout team for your team during the week and practice during the season, but you're also getting to develop them. You're spending more time developing them. They're guys that you think you see something in. And remember, Darren Waller was on the practice squad and they loved his athleticism and size, but they felt like they had to develop him. John Gruden sees it, signs it, and the rest is history. That's where this Collier young man is. He's got a chance. Do I think he's a lock? Not even close. But I do think he's going to make the practice squad. And I do think this youngster is going to have a chance to do something interesting. I think he's going to be very interesting with this team. I think his ability to just do a couple of things really well, which is where these practice squad guys are. Like I said, they're not fully developed. There's a couple things they can do, and you really want to develop that. And so we're going to keep our eyes squarely on this young man and watch where he goes, how he goes. Same with Dylan. You know, if you got to put that kid on the practice, I don't think you're worried about anybody signing him. Um, Somebody might, but I don't think you're worried about that. But you know, there's a few things he can do if he can't make that 53. You got these guys to develop, and both of them have things that they do. Excuse me, that they do good, but both very small schools that have to demonstrate something and have to demonstrate at a higher level of competition. But I think the Raiders running back room is very good. I love, obviously, Jeanty. I think Raheem is ready for a bounce back and going to do some special things. If he is healthy, we know he has that ability. And again, I think Sincere and Zamir are two guys that have something to prove, which is what you want at your 3 and 4. You want guys playing with an edge. You want guys playing with a chip on the shoulder. You want guys who are like, come on, man, let's go. And you want that. Um, yesterday I made the comment. I think Jacoby's a great player, but the Raiders wide receiver room, very unproven. And while it looks to be very good on paper, it's got to be demonstrated. And I think when you look at this Raiders running back room, Ashton was a great pick, but now he has to prove in the NFL. Do I have any concerns that he won't? Not one. But he still hasn't, and it's important to, make that clear. Raheem has proven to be the dude coming off injury. Now he has to prove healthy. We know Zamir's performed at a very high level. Now he's got to prove he's back at it. And Sincere has performed well, has to prove consistency and durability. And then with Labe and Collier, it's developing and proving. So if I was, and when I give the 53-man roster breakdown eventually, uh, the predicted based on who's on the roster today, I'll get back with you on, grading each room. But clearly through the first one, the wide receiver and the running back, I think there's talent. I think there's reason to be encouraged if you're a Raider fan. But I don't think it's like, ooh, that's the best in the NFL. Do I think Jacoby is one of the best wide receivers in the NFL? I do. Do I think the room is? No. Do I think Ashton Jeanty has the ability to be one of the best in the NFL? I do. But he's never done anything in the NFL. Raheem has proven that he's one of the best when he's healthy. Now he has to prove he's healthy. Zamir's proven he was the best, has to prove healthy and has to be able to fit in with the chip. So I think there's lots of reason for optimism here, but I also don't think that we're, you know, pretending it's one of the best rooms in the NFL. Could be eventually. You could absolutely be sitting here at the end of the year saying the Raiders had the best running back room. If Zamir's back where he was, if Sincere is back and healthy and playing like he did last year, and you got Raheem healthy, but that's a lot of if you, should you, would you, could yous. And that's not reality today. Potential to be really good, but still has a lot to prove. Thanks for joining me, everybody, with this breakdown, talking about, of course, the running back room. We'll see you again tomorrow. Thanks for joining us. Have a wonderful day. God bless y'all.